Hello, clickety-clackers, it's CrazeWay, making a very cringy video. As you can see, I now have tier lists open, and I'm going to rank the BioShock characters. I found this list, and it has most of the, I think all of the main characters. It doesn't have any of the side audio diary characters, and thank God I barely remember most of them. I mean, I remember characters like Sullivan, and a few of them, like Emmett Wyman, but I don't remember, like, every single goddamn character that you have to listen to an audio diary from. Anyways, this is going to be a pretty scuffed video, but I thought it'd be fun for me to talk about, because I love this franchise. So first we have Andrew Ryan right here, and he's going right to S. No explanation needs to be given, but I will anyway. Andrew Ryan is like I don't want to say the perfect villain, but that game is built around showing the flaws in his, Ayn Rand's philosophy, and Andrew Ryan perfectly embodies that philosophy. He's a great way to represent. He's a great false villain, spoilers. I mean, he's not a good guy, but he's also not another character who we'll be getting to in a minute. But, he's a great presence in the game, and I'll talk about this more when I get to the Comstock part of this video, but I just didn't feel that the other villains had such the same presence as he did. Andrew Ryan is like, this reveal of Jack Wynand. I can't think of BioShock without thinking of Andrew Ryan. Same goes for Atlas here. And is he on the list as a normal? Yes. Frank Fontaine. That best BioShock villain right there. I trusted Atlas when I first played this game. Not in the YouTube playthrough, because I already knew, but I mean, I started to notice it. I didn't catch on to all the pieces, but I started to realize that Atlas wasn't trustworthy. Right? So I knew he was up to no good. I didn't realize he was mind-controlling, super soldiering me. Like, winter soldiering me, not super soldiering me. But his reveal, the Would You Kindly, I had all the pieces when I first played the game, but I didn't put it together because I'm the big dumb. But it was such wonderfully executed, and what I love about Frank Fontaine as a villain is that the whole game being a critique of Andrew Ryan's philosophy, Frank Fontaine was able to rise to power and do all the evil things because of the philosophy. If Andrew Ryan embodies the philosophy, Frank Fontaine embodies its flaws. It was great. No explanation will be given for Jack either. Jack's just Jack. I love him. He says nothing. He makes the twist work. Well, I mean, he speaks at the beginning of the game, but the twist works mostly because he doesn't say anything. He feels like a blank slate, like all those other games, and then, Would You Kindly. It's just great. Now, okay, onto characters who probably won't all be S. Augustus Sinclair. Well, he's tough. I'll put him in A. Sinclair was fun. I give BioShock 2 a lot of flack when I was doing my YouTube series for BioShock 1. But going back and playing it again, I have played a bit of it again post those videos. It's not as bad as I remember it being. I mean, I never thought it was a bad game, but I just didn't think it was up to par with the first one and Infinite. And after replaying it, I would say it's probably slightly above Infinite, but the first BioShock is still the best one. I love that game. But Augustus Sinclair, anyway, back to Augustus Sinclair. He is a great, because the whole time you feel like he's going to be like Atlas, right? And he's the exact opposite. He's upfront about how he's kind of a scumbag, and he never betrays you. I mean, he does, but that's not of his own free volition. He's a great businessman. He's kind of like a mix between Ryan and Fontaine, where he embodies the philosophy in a certain ways, but he really he doesn't he's not like a living embodiment of it. But his juxtaposition, they needed Sinclair, because with Ryan dead, you needed that character to juxtapose Sophia Lamb, and Augustus Sinclair does it pretty well. Booker Dewitt is an S. I love Booker Dewitt. But other than Jack, he's my favorite BioShock protagonist. Booker Dewitt's just a fundamentally flawed character, and he's probably one of my favorite video game characters. I wouldn't say of all time, but he's up there. Definitely top 100. You'd see Booker Dewitt make an appearance. But Booker so like welded into the story. I don't like his other version as much, which we'll get to. This is just a Big Daddy. It'll go in B. I just noticed that. I'll get back to that. But Booker Dewitt, he starts off as such an, I don't want to call him unlikable, but he's kind of a dick, and you really grow on him despite him being, he like gets the Vegeta treatment throughout the story. Just a Big Daddy. Any normal Big Daddy goes in B because it's not a character, it's just a Big Daddy. Tenenbaum, A. I didn't really care for Tenenbaum, but I can see why a bunch of people did. I did in BioShock 2 a little bit more in Minerva's Den when you get to see her, but in BioShock 1, she just kind of felt like she was there, up until near the end, of course, when you wake up in Olympus Heights. But, I never connected with her, because most of her things were just audio diaries of things she did in the past, so it was never like, you know, damn, this is a great character. She's not a bad character, and her fundamental to the plot is great. I just personally never cared for Tenenbaum all that much. Comstock, he's the same thing. Zachary Hale Comstock was a great villain. I think more could have been done with him. I think the twist that he was Booker was kind of dumb and forced. I feel like it would have worked a lot better if he was related to Booker, but he wasn't Booker. Like if he was Booker's cousin or something, and if they were from the same dimension, but Comstock had hopped over to the other dimension, or something along those lines. But him being Booker, the only reason I don't like him being Booker is I feel like it wasn't played out enough. I mean, the story builds up to it, like Cornelia Slate claiming Comstock wasn't there, and Comstock being sterile and needing his child from another dimension. Like, it works, it makes sense within the concept of the game, but it ultimately doesn't go anywhere besides Booker having to choose to kill himself. There's no, like, big revelation of, oh my god, what this means for me as a character. Look at this other version of me. It's, nope, Comstock's just a dick, let me kill myself to get rid of him. And I just felt that he's not really a presence like Andrew Ryan or Atlas was. He's kind of just shows up whenever the game needs him to give a monologue. We kind of go off fighting Cornelia Slate, and then, what's her name? Daisy Fitzroy for a while, and Comstock kind of just slates into the background, and he's just kind of there, and that's why, he's not an S-tier character. Fitzroy would be an A. She would be an A, but her Barely of C retcon puts her down to B. It almost put her down to C, but the retcon in Barely at C, I'll get to that in a minute. But first, pre-Burial at Sea Daisy Fitzroy is an A. She was a perfect example of what happens when good intentions lead too far. She juxtaposed the Prophet. Her intentions were good, but much like Sophia Lamb, her execution was wrong. She was a terrorist. Like, if you see the original trailer for the game, they had the fucking mailman ready to fucking execute him for being the mailman for the Prophet. And it's like, guy, he's the mailman. So, it worked. I like that she showed him that where violence can take you, where too much rage and hatred, and it was a great sign for Booker and Elizabeth that, hey, we shouldn't go down this path. And it highlights, even though Booker ultimately does, that, you know, maybe we shouldn't be violently murder the Prophet mode. Booker even starts to realize, I'm jumbling words, but she was really a great representation that violence doesn't always solve things. But Burial at Sea dumbed her down, where it was like, oh, she sacrificed herself to be a hero, and that whole message of if you obsess yourself with violence, you become just as much of a villain is just thrown out the window. The only reason she's at sea now is because with that retcon, she perfectly works as perfect foreshadowing for Elizabeth's story arc of having to sacrifice yourself for another hero to finish the job later on. In Burial at Sea, and that's the only thing that saves her at B. Otherwise, if they had just kept her the way she was, she would have been an A-tier character, and I was very upset. Delta. Oh, I'm gonna piss people off. Delta's an A. I kind of want to put him in B, but he does have a little bit of plot relevance that makes him bigger. I mean, I felt his connection with Eleanor is great. I loved going through that, playing that game. Eleanor Lamb, much like Ellie from The Last of Us, Eleanor Lamb started to feel like she was my child throughout the game, and I guess that was the intended point. I was like, you know, must save and protect Eleanor. It really works but I never get much of the Johnny Topside angle. Like, beyond his connection to Eleanor and plot relevance, I don't care for Delta at all. Diane Fitzroy. Diane McClintock. B. She would just be put in C because she's kind of a throwaway side character, but she's one of the more I like her story arc she goes through over the audio diaries, because they perfectly show like the fall of Rapture, and they more so the fall of Andrew Ryan as he gets more and more crooked and Atlas starts to rise, and it's very interesting. Especially the audio diary where she's like murdered, when she finds Atlas, simply because I love the sudden Frank Fontaine monologue switching into Atlas voice midway through. I love that. Eleanor Lamb. S. Love Eleanor Lamb. She is great. BioShock 2. Summon Eleanor is still the best plasmid. She I don't know how to say it. She came off to me as like she came off had the same vibes as Ellie from The Last of Us. The same reasons I love that character from Last of Us 1. Should preface that. I love Eleanor Lamb. She came off as like I feel every time I look back at that game, I feel like it's my own daughter. And maybe that's because Subject Delta is just blank enough for you to like be projected onto, but it really did feel like father coming to save daughter, and I really loved the dynamic in BioShock 2. Speaking of father-daughter dynamics, Elizabeth is amazing. Notice nobody's been below B. BioShock important characters must be dope. Anyways, BioShock, they're great. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Elizabeth Comstock, Anna Dewitt, great character. I like her more than I like Booker, just slightly more than I like Booker. Their dynamic through the game I really enjoyed. I've been thinking of doing BioShock 2 and BioShock Infinite, as well as Minerva's Dead and Burial at Sea Let's Plays on the channel, but I'm not sure yet. I did do the BioShock 1 one, but if you do, I'm gonna love those games. But I'm going off on tangents. Damn, this execution is cringe. But Elizabeth Comstock, as far as I see it, her, Eleanor, best two female characters in all of BioShock. Hands down. Like, nothing. I do disagree with everything else. I love them. I love Elizabeth more than I like Eleanor, because Elizabeth is a little more fleshed out. We spend more time with her. I'm just a sucker for the father-daughter dynamic. It's been in my writing since I earliest wrote, because as you guys know, if you watch my scuffed Gmod roleplay series, The Spiralverse, you know I play Jack Spiral. He was really the first character I ever made, and one of the earliest characters I ever wrote for his extended universe was Allison, which is his daughter, and that's some of my earliest memories of writing character relationships, is father-daughter dynamic, and I've always had a special place in my heart. Jeremiah Fink, douchebag. B. He was an important appearance, and this might sound scummy, but I wanted to kill him. But he did. He was very important to the character, but he felt like a little too. I know what he was trying to do. Overall, he just came off as a little tad bit unrealistic for me, over the top. Unlike Andrew Ryan over here, he too perfectly embodied, like, being an ass and why the Pinkertons and shit existed and all that. But it just felt like it was purposefully played up, you know? I'm as evil can be. I'm racist and this and that. And it was, okay. Subject Sigma. He's right up there with Delta. Charles Milton Porter. I like him more than I like Delta, but I don't like him as much as the S-rank characters. Minerva's Den, arguably one of the best DLCs ever made for a game. I don't know what to say for these things. Gilbert Alexander. Ooh. C. This might make me sound like an ass, but from my memory of playing BioShock 2, my most recent playthrough, I haven't gotten back up there yet. He just seemed like BioShock 2's answer to Yi Su-chong. And that's the only reason he's this low. He was an interesting side character. I'll bump him up to B. He was an interesting side character. I liked his dynamic with Sophia Lamb, but at the end of the day, he just felt like BioShock 2's Yi Su-chong. Cindy Meltzer. Cindy Meltzer as a character is C. I don't know anything about her beyond the fact that she's Cindy Meltzer, you know, Mark Meltzer's kid. But what she means for the franchise and the sad moment, she's a lot more up there with, and I'll get to this with Mark, who I can see in the list. But Cindy herself is just a character without the aid of anyone else. Cindy by herself is C. She's just a little sister and then not a little sister. No different than Sally or any of the others. I'm not going to tie Mark Meltzer's story into her because that's Mark Meltzer's character. Like Pearl. Pearl by herself is a C-tier character because I barely get anything of her. But Subject Sigma, she's important to Subject Sigma's storyline, but by herself, she's not. Like, if it's just Pearl and no Subject Sigma, the substance kind of falls a bit. Speaking of Milton Porter, I don't know why I just saw him. I would put him with Subject. I think that's supposed to be Sigma. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just supposed to be a big daddy. I'll put him right with Subject Sigma. Grace. See, Grace just didn't have the same substance. I mean, I get why she was there. She was the first lieutenant in the game, but she doesn't have the same substance as the other characters in working for Sophia Lamb. She was just kind of there. Her story was tragic, but after that level, she didn't leave a lasting impact on me personally. I'm not saying anything that she do. Same with Jasmine Jolene. She's important to the plot, like heavily important to the plot, but beyond that one shocking scene where you see Andrew Ryan kill her, I kind of forget she exists. And the only time I ever think of her is when I think of Jack Wynand, because I think of it as his mom. Beyond that, she leaves no impression on me. Steinman. He's terrifying. J.S. Steinman, Dr. Steinman, oh my god. Steinman, I am a sucker for horror, and Steinman is a fucking terrifying nut job. Steinman puts the fear of God in me. Not really, but still, you get the point. Steinman is terrifying. He's nuts. He's the perfect introductory villain. You see him go crazy with Adam. You see what he shows what would happen if the doctors lost all morals. He's a great representatory character. He works within the universe. He gives me freaking chills whenever I fight him. And he killed Frederick. If any of you have watched my series, you know, on the game BioShock, you know Frederick is what I call the security bot, and he killed him. So he had to rot in hell for that. Sophia Lamb. Sophia Lamb. A. I would put her at B, but she has so much plot relevance that she goes to A. But beyond the plot relevance, I just feel like she's discount Andrew Ryan. I mean, she perfectly represents like the exact opposite of Andrew Ryan. She's a great villain on her own, but Andrew Ryan is just a better villain overall. Anytime I think of her and I see like the homages they pay to Andrew Ryan, I'm not thinking of how Sophia Lamb's leaving an impact on me. I'm just thinking of Andrew Ryan. And I think her by herself is a great character, but following in Andrew Ryan's footsteps really, really weighs her down to. Lady Comstock, couldn't give less of a shit. She's like in Audio Diaries and then turns into a ghost monster thing. Random Big Daddy. You're not the iconic Big Daddy, so you're going in C. No idea who the fuck you're supposed to be. Wait, are you Mark? Not sure, so I'll leave you in C. Mark, you're going in B. Because the only reason you're a remarkable character is because of, it's not your personality or anything, it's just your tragic story. Your story carries you to B. I don't want to spoil that. I mean, I've spoiled a lot of things, but the Meltzer story, that's fucked. He goes to, okay, I'll spoil it. Cindy gets kidnapped by, the Rapture family and turned into a little sister for BioShock 2. Mark hunts her down, gets caught, and gets turned into a big daddy so he can be with his daughter. And then you kill him as Delta and free Cindy. So Cindy's gonna know her dad loved her so much, even in his... Oh my god. It's just fucked. Peach Wilkins? I don't care for Peach Wilkins all that much. I mean, I care about what he represented. Same with Reed Wall. I don't care about these characters. I mean, they were okay villains, Reed Wall gets dumbed down a little because I didn't feel like he was a great overarching antagonist. But they weren't bad characters. They were just kind of average meh to me. The Lutesses, they're both A. I love the Lutess twins. Fighting the Lutess twins was great. Not fighting, fuck. But you get the point. Robert Lutess and Rosalind Lutess, by themselves, they're both like, oh, you can hear people screaming downstairs. Just by themselves, they're like B characters, because they're kind of funny. Actually, no, I'm going to put them at S together. I'm going to lump them together and put them at S. They are great dynamic together. The two random big daddies are going in C. Sandra Cohen's going in S. Sandra Cohen is like one of the best villains. He's like the Joker of BioShock. He's eccentric, he's random, and he's great. Also, Songbird's going in D because I do not care about Songbird. Simply because he's so hyped up and then he does nothing. He shows up in cutscenes, I never get to fight him, and it's boring. Cornelia Slate is a C. I'm going to speedrun some of these. Sally is a C. Simon Wales is a... He had an okay boss fight. He's a C. Wait a minute. Who did I call Sophia Lamb earlier? This is Julie Langford. I'm a dipshit. Sophia Lamb goes up here. This is Julie Langford, and she's a B. Simply because I liked her banter. I don't know why either. I just did. Yi Su Chong, he's an A. Stanley Poole, you were a dick. You're a B. I love how I sped ran that, but yeah, this is my BioShock characters tier list. I know it was very cringy to watch this, but this is how I feel about BioShock characters, at least. I'm planning to do another one of these for like games like Resident Evil and such, so be in tuned for that. But I'm hoping to get like Sleepy or Vital Arcade or someone to talk about them with me, because I need someone else's opinions. When I'm just ranting, you're seeing how it's getting. Anyway, that's all for now. Later, clickety clackers.